practice was closed to the media. We're still in the preseason, technically. We're not. We're pre-season, at least. We got a couple of practice squad transactions. We've got kickers. No, nothing that. Sal, let's talk about your draft. Let's just start there. Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Sorry, nothing for me.
Gosh.
Nothing for me comes in above that. How'd it go?
I went well. First draft last night. Have another one tonight with my media colleagues. It's our Buffalo Media Draft we do every year, and there's literally like 2 leagues. It's kind of a National League, American League type scenario, right? Because there's so many people who cover the Bills that we all kind of got together several years ago, and this started. And tonight's another one there. So last night went well. That's my buddies down in Florida that I've been in the league with. It's actually, I really love the backstory of this league, though, more than the league itself sometimes. I started this league in 1997, and it was in Florida and we were in this is before like internet and doing all the stuff like that. So you're doing it by hand. I'm posting it. I was a bartender at a sports bar. I'd be posting the standings and scores out of the back in the dartboard room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just evolved. And then years and years later, I moved to Buffalo. Obviously, it was just too hard. But somebody else took over the league, and it's the same league, and it's awesome. And that's what I think I love about fantasy football too, Mike, is it's not just the act of playing, it's being with your friends and doing it for so long. This league now is going on. It's been 25 years, it's almost 30 years this league's been going. It's cool.
Love that. There's that resonates with me. I did a league that I started in 1988 in high school.
Yes.
And I know some of those guys, and some of them just started up a new league, or their brothers, like family, people connected to that group of friends that I'm a part of that feels good. Like that's something that goes back, just being so excited to draft Neil Anderson, Sal, in 1988. I mean, very few picks have I made that were better.
We have I did the same thing. I think 89 was our first year. My first year I started one, and it was called the Cleveland Hill Fantasy Football League, CHFFL. And we still make fun of one of our friends, or we did, I should say. Unfortunately, he passed on a few years ago. But he one year drafted John Settle as the first pick overall. I don't know if you remember John Settle.
Atlanta.
And we're like, great, he was the first pick overall. But back then it's so funny. Like we had kickers going to the first round because they had scored the most points, quote unquote, right? So people took them in the first round. It was kind of wild. So that was cool. Last night was great. They're mostly down there. I'm remote, and I had the 8th pick overall. And thanks to you and me, working it out with me, I had my choice, and I chose there because I was guaranteed to get 2 of a certain group of guys. And I did. I started off with Malik Neighbors and Trey McBride. It's a tight end premium league, so I like the way I started.
Oh, me too. Man, that end of the first round is rich, and those are key names in that. Don't forget February Fix, Sal. You've been in that league for the whole 9 years, I believe.
I think we have. My buddy Chris, who won this league. He's the only other guy in Buffalo in this league with me. He actually won it last year. He is my partner, and I have to go back and look at my team, Mike. I have no idea because it's best.
I'm looking at it right now.
Kind of set it and forget it, right?
I'm looking at it right now. You could use Nick Chubb and or Amari Cooper to have a renaissance season.
Ooh.
That would be good. But you have a Buka. He's exciting.
I think I got good receivers in that league.
Yeah, you take a look. Amuka, Jaden Reed, Sutton.
Okay.
We'll see. Let me just transition into the real football with Amari Cooper here. Like he goes to Vegas, so quiet all offseason, never heard a word about him. Then it's a 1 year, $3.5 million deal maybe with Vegas. I get this question. You would be more qualified to answer it. Is there anything left?
I thought he was okay at times last year. I just think that, for a full season, I'm not sure. You'll probably get a pop-off game or 2 from him at some point. I mean, quarterback matters here, and he had Josh Allen here. And remember, he came to Buffalo, he got hurt right away, right? He hurt his wrist, I believe it was, right away. And that kind of really set him back a little bit as well. But I think, sure, I think the way this guy prepares, I think the way that he keeps his body, he's so professional. He really is. Getting to know him a little bit for, a month and a half, 2 months, whatever it was that he was in Buffalo, since the trade deadline, I think he can still play in the league. You're going to get a pop-off game maybe once in a while. He's got to get the targets, but I don't know if over a 17-game season if he's going to resonate that much, especially for a team that probably isn't going to be that good.
Right. Just turned 31 in June. Amari Cooper signing with the Raiders. While we're here quickly, do you have a thought on Rasul Douglas going to Miami? Just so interesting and ironic that Douglas, who was like a playmaker last year on a team that had 32 takeaways, third in the league, they did not get one interception from him.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. He clearly was not the same player last year as he was the year before, which is weird because it's only a few months separating the offseason, right? You took 6 months later, and he just wasn't making the same kind of plays. And I think what I kind of gather about what the Bills' intention was this offseason was that they needed somebody a little bit more twitchy, a little bit more athletic. Now, look, you could say, well, wait a minute, Tre'Davious White's coming off all those injuries. I think if you think Tre'Davious White's going to be healthy enough, he is more that than Rasul Douglas at that point last year. You kind of have to figure out where they're going to be over the next, several months for that. But he just wasn't the same kind of ball-breaking guy, breaking on the ball, twitchiness that he was when he first showed up in Buffalo. And maybe he had a couple injuries. Remember, he did get injured late in the playoffs, in the playoffs the year before that. When you get older, those things start to linger a little bit. Was that a part of it? I'm not sure. But I really appreciate Rasul Douglas for his, the way that his relationship with the DBs. He came in as a veteran, and really him and Christian Benford have such a strong relationship. That was great. And Mike, I will tell you, just behind the scenes type stuff and a peek behind the curtain, there was not a game where home games, I say mostly the home games because away you have to leave and get on the bus. There was not a home game where Rasul Douglas wasn't one of the last guys left in the locker room and just hanging out with other guys and talking to them about game and football. And I just think that matters, when you have a guy like that in your locker room. So I wish him well in Miami. I just don't really know what they have on defense and how much, if you're relying on Rasul Douglas to be a really big player for the Miami Dolphins, I don't know if that's going to go well.
It might be a little bit like relying on Jordan Poyer here, right, who was with the Dolphins last year. Sal Capaccio on the Wester hotline. So I know Tyler Bass missed much of the summer. He returned for the final preseason game. Why, other than maybe obvious reasons, would the Bills be working out kickers? Is this something they might just normally do, or is it a bad sign for Bass or his health?
You could definitely look at as, and I wouldn't say bad sign, but concerning, hey, they want to really make sure that he's okay. And we don't know of anything that happened to him other than him being at practice and he was fine from what I've seen. So I don't think there's anything there unless something happened over the last 24 hours. I don't think that's the case. So I'm going to say that that's probably not the case. It is something they normally do. And this is something, it's a great thing that this happened just a little while ago and you can ask me about this because this is something I love to remind people of all the time. The Bills and every other team, they bring people in at different positions at various times, especially early in the year. Because if case something does happen to somebody, you have another guy in the ready that you just saw, you just worked out. You can call him right up and say, hey, we know this guy's ready to rock and roll. Let's go. It's better than something happens. You got to call a guy, get into Buffalo, see what he's all about, go through that process. If you have that dossier on him right away, you've gone through that. If something happens, you can call right upon him. And it would make sense with Tyler Bass with this injury. This year he missed some time. Hey, let's get some kickers in now. Let's just make sure. We go through week one. If Tyler's not right, we might have to call on somebody. But it doesn't mean that they don't think he's not right.
Interesting. These kickers, they're not nobodies. I mean, these are guys that have kicked in the NFL. Eddie Pinheiro, Zane Gonzalez, Greg Joseph. They've all had careers already. I wonder what their calculus is, Sal. If the Bills could do this, a lot of teams, most teams could do the same thing. Maybe they just bounce from station to station, sort of working out. I might do it, and I probably think that I should if I'm one of these players, but I'd also think, I've got a resume. You could look me up. I kicked in the NFL last year and did this. And if you needed somebody in November, I'm probably the same kicker. So, they'll make the trip because that's the impression you want to make, and maybe they think they're trying out for a job, more imminently. But otherwise, what are you really trying to figure out that you shouldn't know already? I guess I would put it that way.
Let me ask you this. Would you think, I'll ask you, because I keep thinking about this, is it possible that with the new kicking rules and Tyler Bass having this recent injury that, he's back from, but having to maybe kick it a little bit differently on kickoffs now, and not wanting to put all that on him, that they say, let's bring in a guy. We can put him on the practice squad. We can elevate him and just have him do kickoffs. Is that a possibility, I wonder?
Sure.
There was a time where, and I think teams every once in a while still do this, where they have a kickoff specialist. That's kind of gone away. The Bills don't do that. But you might actually think about that now, Mike, right? Which is, hey, maybe there's a guy that is better at that particular skill than the guy we have, but our guy is still the field goal guy and the extra point guy, but maybe we want something a little different on kickoffs. I just think that could be a possibility.
Yes, I should ask you, and I should maybe know this already, but I missed the end of the week and the game. What is the latest with Bass? So is it everything that was keeping him off the field behind him as far as we know? How did Saturday go? Is there any sort of, what's the new conclusion on him, basically, the new status?
I think the conclusion was he's fine, because he made 5 kicks and then he missed a really short field goal. And for whatever reason, he missed that because he kicked a 39, a 37, and a 37-yarder, and he made 2 extra points before that. The 5 kicks, all good kicks, went in, and then he missed a really short, 29 or 34-yarder. I can't remember which one it was, maybe 34, but he missed that one, which is kind of odd. But it didn't seem like there's anything wrong with him, and he kicked off. Every time the Bills scored, he kicked off. So I don't think there's any conclusion other than Tyler Bass is fine. Then we went out to practice the other day, and he was out there and he was kicking. If there's anything wrong with him, it would have been something that is lingering that we don't know of, or something that happened over the last 24 hours.
Have you talked to him about the kickoff rule changes?
No, and what's funny is I wanted to talk to him after the game on Saturday. Here's how it works. We can't really, in the media, we don't talk to guys who are injured. It's just kind of a rule, right? You don't talk to guys who are injured. Maybe it's because the team doesn't want them to revealing anything about their injuries. But if a guy is practicing, he's fair game. You can talk to him, or playing in a game. If he's injured and he's not practicing, he's not playing, he does not talk to the media. So, we respect those rules and we don't do that. He kicked on Saturday, and actually I'll say Lance Lysowski, who's now the beat reporter for the Buffalo News, who was with the Sabres. Now he's covering the Sabres, I should say. Now he's covering the Bills. Him and I both, after the game, were looking around the locker room going, hey, where's Tyler Bass? And we both said, hey, let's go find him. And there was an extra kind of room off to the side. The locker room was a little weird in Tampa, the visitors' locker room. There was this huge locker room. Then there was another kind of auxiliary locker room off in the back. And someone said, yeah, the specialists are over there. So Lance and I both walked over there. And by the time we got there, Tyler Bass was already gone. So a long way of answering your question of not talking to him. But I wanted to explain that we wanted to talk to him, but just didn't get that chance.
I'm not suggesting the Bills would want to cut him or anything. I mean, he had a good bounce back season. It's just to point out that he wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to do that cheaply. He has a contract through 27. There's a $6 million dead cap number if the Bills, whether it's injury related or not. There's that aspect to this with him if they were even thinking about making a change there. Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline, a couple of practice squad moves today. Hardy was cut. Anything of consequence there? I mean, it's, again, the practice squad.
No. By the way, I'm looking at over the cap. They would save 3.6 by releasing Tyler Bass now, and it would only cost them $1 million in dead money this year and next year.
All right.
However, I have seen no indication that, here's what tells me that I would be stunned if they did that, Mike. Even when he was hurt for 3 weeks, they didn't bring another kicker in until late, the last week, and then that other guy kicked, and I can't remember his name right now, Caden Davis. They didn't bring Caden Davis in. They had nobody kicking at practice for 2.5 weeks. It's it didn't really matter, right? And then he finally did. So anyway, that's why I'd be stunned. I just wanted to get the money right on that. Daquan Hardy, I'm a little surprised because I really thought that was a guy that they felt maybe at some point could challenge for a return job who could give you more on defense than Brandon Codrington. Because I really like kind of sometimes what I see from Daquan Hardy on defense. He plays outside. He plays inside. When he was drafted, people thought he'd be only strictly a slot guy. They've used him on the outside as well, and not too bad, actually. But he did have an injury during camp, and then he came back. And, if they feel they're set in the secondary, then, maybe that's just a guy that they feel they need something else. Now, here it also could be just numbers because they brought in another defensive back, and they brought in a defensive end. And what I mean by that is it's a 1-for-1 defensive back. So why is that? It could very well be that the other defensive back they brought in, Jalen Kimber, could just be a guy that maybe is a replica of something they want to have against Baltimore to practice. Is he someone that, hey, this guy he's I don't know, for example, he's like Marlon Humphrey. So we're going to put him against the the offense, so they can get a better look because he's got the size and the build and plays like him. And when you do that, you got to get rid of somebody. And then maybe the next week you get Daquan Hardy back on the practice squad, right? It's just a numbers game that happens sometimes this time of year.
Right. Khalil Shakir, wheels up?
I think so. He was still, you could tell he wasn't 100% yesterday, but he's back on the field, and that's a good sign. They're not going to put him out there and put him in harm's way. So they obviously feel that he's good enough to at least go out there and start doing some things. You know, Khalil's a vet when it comes to answering questions because I said, hey, what do you think about being on track for week 1? And these guys generally don't give you like any. They're not going to tell you yes or no because. But of course he's like, I'm just taking it a day at a time, right? And we'll see where it goes from here. So I tried to get him there. He didn't work out, but he's a tough guy, and he is a guy that takes a lot of pride in being available and doing everything right to make sure that can happen. So he said he learned a lot from last year's ankle injury. It's the same injury, ironically, happened against Baltimore. He missed the Baltimore game last year. Oh, no, I'm sorry, happened against Baltimore last year, and now they're playing Baltimore. So I think it's trending well for Khalil Shakir. We still have 10, 11 days here before the first game.
No, he wasn't forthcoming, and as you know, as well as anyone, players and coaches often are not. But we did have Sean McDermott a couple of weeks back report that he was told he thought Shakir should be ready for the opener. And that was a little more than you might have expected him to say about that at the time. Once he said that, I felt, I'm in there drafting. I feel like there's really no particular risk of Shakir missing time. But we will see. So what do you think of the new uniforms?
I like them. I've always liked like clean, slick kind of uniforms like that. I guess that's the word to use. I don't know. Clean uniforms, meaning like not really busy. Like I've always kind of liked the Penn State uniforms when they wear all white or black, or the blue and the white, I should say, and the white and the blue. But either way, you get my point. Like it's just kind of the uniform. And when it's not too busy going on, it doesn't mean that I don't think you can have a really snazzy, Oregon Ducks neon uniform. Okay, that can kind of look cool. But I've always been kind of a little old school with, that's just straight football, let's go uniform. It reminds me of that. It also reminds me a lot of the UB Bulls white uniforms, and I really like the UB Bulls white uniforms, to be quite honest. So I like that. The detail in it is pretty amazing. When you look at the buffalo on the shoulder and the raised buffalo there, and I know there's certain reasons why they did that, it's very cool. I think they kind of hit pretty cleanly. I think it represents a lot of what we're about here, Buffalo, right? It's the snow and the ice is what it's trying to replicate a little bit there. And you even have the condensation during the video coming off the shoulders and things like that. So I think not only, Mike, do I like the uniforms and think they fit and they're clean, I think they did a good job to present them actually on social media.
I was assuming that the Bills and the Patriots would wear their uniforms on the same night in Week 5. Am I wrong? Somebody on Twitter told me the Patriots won't be wearing theirs that night. And every time I search for New England, I don't see a date.
Oh, the Patriots uniforms?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you asked when. Okay, first of all, let's straighten a couple things out so people know because I've gotten this a lot today. Only one team will wear a rivalry uniform in any game.
Okay, that's what I was wrong about.
Okay, so the Patriots are wearing theirs week 11 against the Jets.
There it is. Okay. Yep. The listener was right. I was wrong.
I tweeted out a graphic that someone had sent me, my friend Mike, who you know as well, by the way. He had sent me this, and so I tweeted it out as well. What's really interesting, though, is the Bills, in a game where a rivalry uniform is being worn, whether it's by the Bills or not, they only are one time. That's when they are wearing it against the Patriots on October 5th. However, like the Jets are involved in 3 of these games. The Dolphins are wearing it against the Jets, the Patriots are wearing it against the Jets, and the Jets are wearing it against the Dolphins. And the Seahawks are involved in 4 of them. Every time the Seahawks go on the road for a division game, their opponent is wearing their rivalry uniforms, and then the Seahawks are wearing it themselves against the Rams.
Okay. I guess to be a stickler, would prefer that the Bills wear this uniform when it should be cold, because that's exactly what it's evoking. And likely it won't be on October 5th. I mean, the 50s is a normal October 5th.
Well, I think that I guess you could have said Thursday night against the Dolphins would have been even sooner.
Yep.
But you kind of have to go by the schedule. The only other time would have been the Jets, and that game we know is going to be the throwback uniform that they're going to be wearing, the red helmet. Well, we know that.
Week
That's
18.
The late game. So really, you only had 2 other choices, and both were September games. And obviously, it's a Sunday night game. It's national TV. It just resonates. It just hits, right? That's why you wear it. Why would the NFL also not have both teams wear these uniforms in the same game? Now, I don't know this, but my guess is, A, they want to highlight one team, highlight it and show it off, not like a color rush where it's both teams doing it. But the other part of it is, Mike, it could be because they just didn't want it to clash. Like, what if both teams have a white, Nike rivalry uniform? And you're like, well,
Right.
wait a minute. We can't do that,
Right. When I was assuming they would be together, I made a point about white helmets versus white helmets and Joe Ferguson, but that was also wrong because the Patriots will have their silver helmets, their normal helmets for that game. I have long wanted one of these versions of throwback uniforms to go back to 1960 because I think it's a little known fact that the Bills started in blue and silver for 2 years, maybe 1 year, I guess. 1960 was maybe it. 2 at the most, I think 1. And so they've never done that. And their throwbacks have looked very, relatively similar to their regular uniforms. So I was ready for this.
Yeah, I think that the Bills having a couple different uniforms this year that they're wearing just once is pretty cool. And I know that the fans kind of want them to wear these things more. The red helmets wear them more. It's also one of those things where you can oversaturate something, right? So what is the right amount of times to do these things? It's the rivalry uniforms one time, it's the red helmet one time, and the Standing Buffaloes twice this year. Now the Standing Buffalo is going to be at home against the Bucks, but the Bucks are not wearing their creamsicles that day, just so everybody knows, here in Buffalo, November 16th. And the Standing Buffalo is going to be being worn Monday night at the Falcons, and the Falcons are doing their throwbacks and wearing their old, I guess it'd be red helmet.
Yes, which is really cool.
Yeah. Who do you think of when you see that red helmet?
John Settle, after today.
That's great. I love that.
No, William Andrews.
Ooh, Steve Bartkowski for me.
Same team, 1980. I was into them, just finding my way as a sports fan, and I liked a few teams. Atlanta was one of them, and that uniforms probably had more to do with that than I even knew. Right? I mean, this is sharp. Gray pants, red helmets, white jerseys. Works. Then they went to all black with Glanville, and No, thank you. All right. Is tomorrow a practice day, or are we into the holiday weekend, or what?
There's no media tomorrow that I am aware of.
Okay.
So they might be doing something as a team, but there's no media. Really, next week ramps that up. And I think there's some stuff in the CBA about how much time they need off and those kinds of things leading up, because next week it'll be like a regular practice week, and we'll be out there and getting things going.
Practice Monday, off Tuesday, like that next week.
That's actually to be determined because it is week 1, Mike. But normally that is the case on a Sunday game. Yes. Yep. So you're right to assume it that way. But because it is week 1 and the schedules are a little bit different with how they lead into it, it might be a little bit different next week.
Very good. Thanks for your time.
You got it.